He's on 6 cards, and we'll be underway here in round number 14. Winner of this match, lock it up, lock it in. They'll be in top 8 later this evening. So a big match here between two very good players here on the SCG Tour. Tom Ross, maybe the best SCG Tour player of all time, and the youngster Clay Spicklemire from Indianapolis area. In Inquisition of Kozilek is how we will start things, folks. And you'll find a Traverse, a Stubborn Isle, an Inquisition, a Tarmogoyf, a Terminate, and a Verdant Catacombs. That's what Clay Spicklemire is working with.
I mean, knowing nothing about Tom's hand, I think Inquisition is probably the most likely take. Though, could be the Tarmogoyf if he has no removal for it. Ideally, Tom is trying to get a spot where Spicklemire, taps out for Tarmogoyf or some other creature, and you have Smallpox to cover everything.
Tom the Tankaroo.
I suppose there's also an argument with Spicklemire's hand having blue, black, red, and green requirements that you could go after Traverse.
Really mess him up that way.
Well, the Verdant Catacomb, you can get 2 of the 4.
Well, it is worth noting that Clay's only got 1 basic in the deck, in a basic swamp to search for with Traverse. Clay's going to play an Inquisition of Kozilek here. He's going to sacrifice the Verdant Catacombs. See what land he searches up here. He'll go with an Overgrown Tomb. Now here's an Inquisition as he falls down to 17. Tom's got a Raven's Crime, a Funeral Charm, a Shrieking Affliction, an Inquisition, and the Rack.
A 1 land hand, but he can play everything. Nothing but 1-mana spells.
Tom taking Tarmogoyf there from Clay to slow him down a touch.
And you can see Ross's hand with no removal, so taking the Tarmogoyf pretty straightforward.
Clay, a young one, shown some prowess at the game at a young age. Curious how he adapts to this matchup, because you have to imagine this isn't one he's played much.
He started off, at least he took the draw.
Yeah?
That is sharp.
Now take a look at Shrieking Affliction in the Rack. The 1-2 punch that Tom generally wins his games with. And it's funny because all these cards just kind of look the same, right? You see discard spells, okay, they all kind of do the same thing. You see the Rack and you see Shrieking Affliction, and it's like, okay, those are the ways you're going to win. And it looks like he's just going to take Inquisition. So we're going to go over to the boss. Liliana of the Veil, an interesting one. Another thing that's a little bit interesting here too is that Clay is already 3/4 the way there for Delirium for the Traverse. A creature, a sorcery, and a land.
But he's not really in a position right now to Traverse for Death Shadow. His life total is too high.
Correct.
And he doesn't have the mana to go get Tarmogoyf. So unlocking the Traverse is not bad, but
Tom's going to work on getting his win conditions on the battlefield. He'll start with Shrieking Affliction. We'll go over to Clay, who's picked up a copy of Thoughtseize.
And I think Tom wanting to play the Shrieking Affliction here has something to do with, if I make him choose and discard, it's possible that it's just turning on the Traverse. He may want to just bleed some more cards out of his hand first before hitting him with cards like Funeral Charm and Raven's Crime.
Here's a Thoughtseize. Liliana's the draw. Raven's Crime, the Rack, and Funeral Charm, Clay already knew about. So the Rack is going to bite the dust.
The Rack.
Indeed. Spicklemire is going to fall down to 15. We'll go back over to the boss. He's picked up a copy of Inquisition of Kozilek. He'll fire off Inquisition. This might get hit by a Stubborn Denial.
But then at that point, it's probably the thing to do, but it does mean that Clay loses access to Terminate. Not a huge cost, as Ross's deck has very little in the way of creatures, just some Mutavaults. Now, with Clay falling to 12, this does set up an opportunity, if he wants to Traverse for Death Shadow.
Which he can. And we might just see him do that now.
Although, I think he needs to do another point to himself, or else the Funeral Charm he knows about kills it.
Oh, okay. Well, it depends on what he draws for the turn.
3 modes.
Yeah. Spicklemire will draw a card. Didn't see what he picked up. Well, he picked up a fetch land, so that solves that.
Great. And then it gets him down to 1 card in hand.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Shrieking Affliction starts feeding the Death Shadow.
Yeah, so this gets a little bit weird too, because all of a sudden.
Oh, this is bizarre.
Yeah.
Tracking this is going to be a nightmare.
This is what I love about watching this deck be played. Shrieking Affliction is killing Clay, but also killing Tom. So there is Death Shadow. And for Tom, Tom wants to draw us a couple of lands here so we can get towards the Liliana of the Veil. So the Traverse is good. Oh, got a question here.
Well, I see instant land. Yeah, instant land sorcery creature. So the Traverse is
Should be good.
legit.
Yeah. Hey, he's asking for the Oracle text on Funeral Charm.
Let me help you out.
Oh, do you know all three?
4X in my first Constructed Pro Tour.
All right, Patrick will run it for you.
Yeah, target player chooses discards a card, or target creature gets +2/-1 until end of turn, or target creature gains Swamp Walk until the end of turn. All 3 modes used in my first Pro Tour. The Swamp Walk was used to get a Hunted Wampus past an Ascendant Evan Carr in a lethal attack.
Very nice.
And then that same Hunted Wampus was given +2/-1 by the other copy of Funeral Chart in my hand.
Was that a game-winning attack?
Racked him, game 3. Racked him.
Easy breezy.
Why was Hunted Wampus and several Funeral Charms in my construction
I
deck?
wasn't going to ask.
Gonna have to ask someone else. Though Levadovich, that deck was his first big Pro Tour finish, top 16.
Nice. Nice.
Springboarding him into fame and fortune as one of America's best pros of all time. And me, back to the PTQ circuit, which I would never leave.
So here's where things get a touch interesting. Clay with a Terminate. Tom with Raven's Crimes and everything else. Does Tom want to make him discard this card?
And turning on the Shrieking Affliction.
No, Shrieking Affliction is on. It's 1 or less card.
Oh, then.
However, that's a Terminate that Clay can't cast. So if Clay draws another removal spell, then Shrieking Affliction will not be on, which means that Clay will not take damage.
I think it's just too hard to not be playing any of the cards in your hand, though. Are you just going to sit there with 3 discard spells and let Clay draw and cast things uncontested?
Well, it depends on what he draws.
But there's very few draws, I think, that qualify as being dead.
I think you're right. I mean, I'd say it's more of a question of here's Inquisition. That's going to take Liliana most likely, where things get a little bit difficult here.
Yeah, I have to. Even though he's 2 mana away from Liliana, these cards just don't matter.
Yeah, these cards are garbage. I mean, Tom's got to run. He's got to draw like land into Smallpox now, or Fatal Push,
or maybe a rack. Well, maybe he can draw one of his damage sources and kill. Maybe.
That's kind of the scary part of things right now.
But I guess Clay's wondering, is there any way this game goes on for 2 more turns?
That's also the question. Now he's going to take Liliana.
I think the rest of Tom's hand is just so bad.
And what's interesting, too, is now Tom is in this kind of a weird spot here where there are some draws that are very good for him here. Fatal Push is obviously quite good. Mutavault as a chump blocker is quite good.
Yes.
There are some things that are actually pretty good for Tom right now. Funeral Charm is -2/-1.
+2/-1.
Okay, that's a big difference.
Yes.
That's a big difference. Pardon me.
Good against River Boa. And Spectral Lynx.
Other 1 toughness creatures.
Which, for whatever reason, we believe were going to be metagame defining features of the tournament.
Okay. 13/-8, that means it's a 5 power creature. Spicklemire falls down to 8. Now Tom's able to draw a rack. Another Shriek. Now Mutavault's,
there it is.
Mutavault's
Huge
good.
Draw.
Mutavault's good. That's a chump blocker in this instance. It also is a potential attacker. So that's Mutavault. Shrieking Affliction is going to bring Clay down to 5. In the draw step comes the Funeral Charm. It is an instant after all. Fatal Push.
Beautiful.
Killed. Tom gets to come over for the W now,
Yeah,
right?
this is just
Fire up Mutavault, put you down to 3. Shrieking Affliction's going to finish you off. So, Tom Ross is going to win game number 1 here over Clay Spicklemire. It's that funky 8-rack deck finding a way. Going to win game number 1 here over 5-color Death Shadow, and Clay can tell he made a mistake there.
Yeah, Clay needed to hold back for 1 turn to draw an answer to the Mutavault.
He can tell he made a mistake. He's a little frustrated.
Well, you know, this is also part of the benefit of playing a deck like this.
Absolutely.
This is a lot of cards I'm sure Clay is not familiar playing against. Both that line of play, asking for the Oracle text on Funeral Charm. There's a benefit to be playing with cards that people have not experienced very much of.
And Tom right away in the draw step knew he wanted a Funeral Charm, got a very crucial Fatal Push.
Perfect, the perfect card to get.
Yeah, out of his hand. Clay a little too hasty with the attack, and then the combination of the Mutavault attack and the Shrieking Affliction gets the job done. And what's also notable there is, remember that turn of the game where Tom had a lot of 1-mana spells in his hand and took the opportunity to actually resolve Shrieking Affliction as opposed to another discard spell or the rack or anything else, and that Shrieking Affliction was a game winner.
Yeah, that was a huge play, and part of I sort of wanting to play that turn was just get it on the table, and so Spicklemire can't draw a discard spell to get it out of the hand, and once it's on the table, the game's much easier to play.
We'll take a look at the sideboards here. It's 3 Lingering Souls, 3 Disdainful Stroke, 2 Ancient Grudge, along with the Kozilek's Return of Liliana the Last Hope, a Godless Shrine of Stubborn Nile. Nile Spellbomb, a Temur Battle Rage, and is a Static Caster. That's what Clay's working with. What do you like here?
The top of the list is Lingering Souls. I think that's a card that's pretty challenging for Ross to handle generally. Obviously, getting to 3 mana is a bit of a challenge, but if he's able to resolve it, I think that card's a huge boon. I think the Liliana, the Last Hope, much better in this matchup than Liliana the Veil. I expect that swap to get made.
Other side of things here for the boss, T. Ross. He's got 4 Leyline of the Veil, 4 Delirium Skies, 2 Death Shadow, 2 Bontos, Last Reckoning, a Fatal Push, a Shadow of Doubt, and an Asylum Visitor.
So there's 5 easy ones here. The additional copy of Fatal Push, great across the board in this matchup, and I think 4 Leyline of the Voids. Spicklemire just leans on his graveyard a lot. He's bringing Lingering Souls to boot. I think the presence of Traverse the Uvenwald might be enough for Tom to bring in the 1 copy of Shadow of Doubt, just as a random cycling miser, but he also might just leave that in the sideboard.
Well, those are the options there for both
and
players.
Lastly, Bantu's Last Reckoning.
Oh, you
also,
want that too?
I think just any removal spell here is above the board.
And you're happy to tap out, whatever.
Yep.
Take a turn off, make sure you can kill a Death Shadow and Tarmogoyf, probably totally fine. So, again, those are the options there for both players. I would normally say Clay Spicklemire will be on the play for game 2, but I'm not so...
Remains to be seen.
Not so sure. So we'll let them sort that out, and we'll introduce you guys to the Jolly Rover, a playmat you can get at an Ixalan pre-release near you. Find out more information from Jeremy Knoll right now.
Say hello to the newest member of the StarCityGames.com pre-release exclusive creature collection, the Jolly Rover. Illustrated by fan favorite Andrea Radek, this motley crew is ready to set sail. Want to get your hands on this playmat? Find a participating store near you and register today. Visit go.starcitygames.com/pre-release to learn how to make your pre-release brave the unknown with the Jolly Rover.
September 23rd and the 24th, which somehow is already next weekend. So time flies when you're having fun playing Magic. You can get the Jolly Rover playmat at a pre-release near you that's being hosted by Star City Games. So check out go.starcitygames.com/pre-release. Find a pre-release near you at the Jolly Rover and get that awesome playmat, my friends. Pretty cool one there, the Jolly Rover. So get ready here for game number 2. The boss, T. Ross, is who we'll learn a little bit more about right now. 8-rack mage, 34 years old, from Roanoke, Virginia. I don't know why I'm singing, but I am. He's got 17 top 8s. Looking for number 18. Number 18 with 8-rack. In homage to Lex Luger.
Both numbers do have the number 8 in them.
Right? They sure do.
Yes, they do.
Open wins 6, maybe number 7 here this weekend in Derby City. He's got 4 NV top 8s, 2 back-to-back wins a couple of years ago. 2016 SCG Tour Player of the Year, and that benefit, of course, means that he gets 3 buys at every SCG Tour Open weekend. It's been a good year for Tom. Not as good as we saw maybe 3 years ago, where he was maybe the best player doing it in all of Magic. That year when he won back-to-back invitationals, he was dominant with Boss Sly and everything else. Infect too, my goodness. Runner-up at a Grand Prix, so much more that year. But he likes his 8-rack deck, and as much trash talk I like to give him when I found out he was playing it this week. And you know what? It's actually looked pretty good, and it made me think about playing it on Magic Online later this week.
We got to build it when we get back to the room.
Oh, no.
We got to build it.
It is a cheapie.
I don't know if Liliana the Veil is
Liliana's expensive, but past that, you know, Mutavaults are like $3 online, everything else. How much do you think Funeral Charm going for nowadays?
The time shift? Well, we have to get the ones from the original ones.
You get those. I'm not playing with those. I'm not playing with those old ones. Here's an Inquisition of Kozilek. Clay's got a Stubborn Denial, 2 Inquisitions, 2 Thoughtseizes, 2 lands. He's got a lot of discard in his hand. I'm not sure if this is a great hand or not.
So I don't think Spicklemire can really afford to mulligan all but the worst hands, given the nature of Ross's deck here. But this hand's really rough. I mean, playing empty-handed against Ross with no pressure, that's the game that Ross is trying to piece together.
Yeah, this is interesting here. I'll tell you what.
Not a mulligan. It's 2 lands and some spells, and he just can't be throwing away hands. But I'm sure Ross is pretty stoked to see what's in front of him right now.
From Tom, I'm trying to figure out how am I going to poke a hole in this hand. The only thing that's really an outlier here is Stubborn Denial.
And I imagine that's just too weak to consider taking with no enablers.
I'll take that.
Okay.
I mean, it might just be annoying enough that you just want to get rid of it. Ancient Grudge the draw. That'll take care of the rack. I love it. Tapping the Marsh Flats for black mana because your opponent has Nurborg. Asylum Visitor.
Exciting.
Along with the Shrieking Affliction, a Raven's Crime. Let's make it 2 Raven's Crimes. And a Mutavault, which will also be able to attack for black mana. Now, Asylum Visitor we're going to take a look at here because it's a wonky one. We saw it help Tom win a match earlier this weekend when he was on camera. And there's a strange little one of that's hiding out in his sideboard that he's liked quite a bit. Give some beatdowns, draw some extra cards. 2 mana, 3/1. It's got a Madness of a colorless and a black. And at the beginning of each player's upkeep, if that player has no cards in hand, you draw a card and you lose a life.
And I think Spicklemire might be checking the sideboard right now to see, do I have any creature removal left? He might have to just take Asylum Visitor here.
This weekend, you received a playmat voucher. Make sure you bring this up to the stage before you.
Yeah, he will take the Asylum Visitor.
They will stop being playmat vouchers and start being bookmarks.
So that problematic 3/1 is gone now. That would have clocked Clay pretty good. We're going to head back over to Tom now. He'll draw a card. Leyline of the Void, right on time.
Perfect.
This is a Raven's Crime. That'll take care of Ancient Grudge. Pretty easy discard there for Clay. And now a Shrieking Affliction. So now Tom's got his win condition on the battlefield.
And
we'll go back to Spicklemire.
Able to sneak that down and avoid the discard spells on the other side.
Spicklemire with 2 Thoughtseizes, another Inquisition in hand. Remember, Shrieking Affliction is what Tom deployed early on in game number 1 to get the job done, and Spicklemire wasn't able to work his way through it. Now, I think Clay may have picked up a copy of Death's Shadow, and we know how good that card is in this deck and certainly in this matchup.
If he wants to, he can deal 8 to himself this turn. He's got 2 fetches plus a Thoughtseize he can cast in front of it.
Might be worth it to get on the battlefield as fast as you can. Shrieking Affliction starts to go to work on your life total, making Death Shadow more and more angry.
You would prefer to avoid going to 12 to play it, which is what Spicklemire would have to do here because now Funeral Charm would be in the mix.
Absolutely. But is a card like that safe in your hand against this deck?
Right.
That's the real
you
concern.
You might just have to play whatever you can play.
Well, Clay's not going to play anything. And he'll simply pass the turn back over to Tom. Tom will draw a card. Did not get a great look at it. Maybe another Leyline.
Another Leyline.
Nice. Leyline flooded.
Pretty bad.
Well, here's Raven's Crime. He's actually going to use the Urborg to do it. Make Clay discard a Thoughtseize, pass the turn back. So Clay, with an Inquisition, a Thoughtseize, and a Death Shadow, has got to figure out what he wants to do here. He's just going to draw a card. Picked up another copy of Marsh Flats, and now it might be go time with this Death Shadow.
Right, that might be enough of a cushion here. I think he wanted to save some of these discard spells just as buffer against the Raven's Crime, because Ross probably doesn't have a whole lot going on. But I think snapping off all these Marsh Flats, casting a Thoughtseize, and getting a Death Shadow going might be a really attractive line. But now we got to start doing the math, and Spicklemire wants to be really careful here because last game he did not do the math and was killed.
Yeah. All right, let's go down a little bit. Flats for Overgrown Tomb. That's 17. So Leyline's going to be taken by the Thoughtseize. Leyline left over in Tom's hand. Pretty bad spot for those.
Might be time to let it rip now, but the coast is clear.
Yeah, it's clear as day. Now here comes Death's Shadow. Now there is quite obviously a very scary card that Tom can draw here in Smallpox. That Clay really can't do much about.
Yeah, if that happens, you know, you gotta clock him. You can't. There's not even really a way to play around the card. You just gotta hope to fade it.
Watery Grave is the land that Clay will search up. He'll take 3. And we'll see if he's going to play another land here because he has another Marsh Flats in his hand.
I kind of like playing it because if you...
You don't want to get Funeral Charmed, you know?
Yeah, and Funeral Charm is a big part of it too. And also, you may be okay taking the points from Shrieking Affliction. At least you don't have to sacrifice the Marsh Flats if you don't want to. You can just put it out on the table. You have it as a way to play around. And then if you get to next turn, you take the 3 from Shrieking Affliction. Now Dismember doesn't even do anything.
True.
Now your Death Shadow is just good to go.
It's true. Tom not going to play the land. Now, it's interesting here because he has Raven's Crime in his graveyard. Tom could play the land. If he does, that means that if he draws a Liliana or a Bantu the Last Reckoning, he can't play it. The Leyline in his hand is irrelevant at this point. Dead Draw Step, not going to hard cast, doesn't do anything. So do you retrace Raven's Crime, or do you say, you know what, I need this 3rd land because I've got Bantu's Last Reckoning, and Liliana that I can draw towards?
I think you got to keep the land.
Well, Tom says I'm not going to keep the land. So I'm going to make you discard a card. Inquisition's going to bite the dust. So now, Shrieking Affliction's going to hit Clay Spicklemire. Going to knock him down to 9. Clay will draw a card. Clay picked up a copy of Street Wraith. Again, what's so interesting about this 8-rack deck is for the opponents, people are having to do unorthodox things from the start by saying, I'm going to make you go first.
This is really complicated to play against. I think Spicklemire here wants to just try to thread the needle a little bit here. He's willing to just clock for a few points a turn. He doesn't need to lean into the Shrieking Affliction and try to make it that kind of pure race. It's much better for him to deal 4 a turn and Tom deal 0 than some mixture of damage on both sides.
Now, what's a little funny here is Tom's draw for the turn was Liliana. And now here's another Death Shadow. So now Tom's in a real... And he drew another Liliana. Now, think if he didn't retrace that Raven's Crime. Now Clay will attack here for 8. Going to bring Tom down to 4. Going to cycle Street Wraith. And that is going to be absolutely lethal. So, Clay Spicklemire is going to win game number 2 here over Tom Ross. 5-color Death Shadow going to tie things up against 8-rack. And it's very interesting there because Tom gets punished badly for retracing that Raven's Crime. If he keeps that 3rd land, you don't know what you're going to draw, but draws back-to-back Liliana of the Veils, which would have taken care of those Death Shadows, and then maybe that leads to a win.
Yeah, I think he was trying to just get, you know, the race going, basically, and trying to get that Shrieking Affliction online. Spicklemire, to his credit, did not cooperate. I mean, he just held his cards back in reserve, was happy doing some number of damage a turn, maybe not as much as he could if he tried to totally push on it, but making sure that he wasn't taking any damage on the way back, and that management ended up being very effective.
Players are going to go back to the drawing boards here. Do you see anything that changes with how that second game played, Patrick? Is there anything that kind of stands out to you?
Not really. I mean, I guess the big question is Spicklemire even wants Lingering Souls if he's even trying to resolve 3-mana cards? But I still think Lily on the Last Hope and Lingering Souls is where he wants to be. I like bringing in the Ancient Grudge as well. Spells of Flashback are ideal here.
Well, we just showed you how you can get the Jolly Rover playmat at a pre-release near you next weekend. A little bit further down the road is when we're going to be doing a little action in Atlanta for a Grand Prix. Love Atlanta, one of my favorite cities here on the SCG Tour. Grand Prix as well. We'll be at the Georgia World Congress Center, and you can learn more about that Grand Prix that Star City is hosting right now.
On November 10th through the 12th, make plans to be part of Magic the Gathering history when StarCityGames.com proudly presents Grand Prix Atlanta. Register by Sunday, October 15th for the standard format main event to compete for thousands of dollars in prizes and receive an exclusive playmat featuring Sun Blessed Mount. Select the 3-day Infinite Challenge package to compete in all challenge events for one low price, while also walking away with the exclusive Sunblessed Mount playmat. All Friday challenges are also Grand Prix trials. Come out early and compete for buys in the main event and more chances to claim a Sunblessed Mount playmat. Prefer 100-card formats? Register for the Ultimate Commander package to play in 4 Commander on-demand events and take home a Commander vs. playmat and Ultimate Guard Boulder deck case. Want to play on Magic's grandest stage? Compete in the Pro Tour qualifier on Sunday and receive a Progenitus foil promo just for playing, plus the chance for an invitation to Pro Tour Rivals of Ixalan in Bilbao, Spain. And don't forget to come say hello to Grand Prix Atlanta's many special guests, including cosplayer Christine Sprankle and an artist alley full of fan favorites, headlined by guest of honor Therese Nielsen. Be part of Magic the Gathering history. Register for Grand Prix Atlanta today.
November 10th through the 12th. Little Ixalan standard action there for you. StarCityGames.com/GP Atlanta for more information. Make sure you do register. Make sure you can get that playmat. Should be a good weekend. Looking forward to it. I'll be there.
Grand Prix are fun.
Yeah, Grand Prix are fun. I'll be there.
Fun.
Clay Spicklemire, maybe he'll be there. Who knows? He's here right now playing against Tom Ross. We learned a little bit more about, I believe, 17 years old, Minneapolis, Indiana. Wish I was this good when I was 17. 2 open top 8s, 1 open win. Lived at the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs for 2 years while his dad taught physics. Wears at least 1 article of boo at every Magic tournament for good luck. And taking advanced math courses at a local college is the youngster from Indianapolis, Indiana. I actually don't hate the Cubs, but I don't like them either. We should have won the NBA championship and an MLB championship in the same year. We should have. But it's okay. When the last time the Cubs won 22 games in a row? Right?
I guess. I have very little skin in this.
We're on a 1-game winning streak right now, the Indians. Is that a thing?
That's not a streak.
Is that a thing?
That's
1-game winning streak?
That's just a win.
Feels like a streak to me. We're getting a new streak fired up. That's all we're doing. What's more impressive, 22 baseball games in a row or 27 basketball games in a row?
22 baseball games.
Yeah?
Yeah, baseball's much higher variance.
Okay, like the Heat streak back in a couple of years ago when they won 27 in a row?
Basketball, just the more discrete scoring opportunities a game has, the lower variance is going to be. So, yeah.
How many matches of Magic would you have to win in a row that would be like really impressive? Like, is it like 20?
Like 4 or 5.
Just not.
Yeah, we had 2 competitors at round 5 and they're 4-0, and I'm like, that's not possible.
That's unbelievable. That's just unbelievable. I don't know.
That's made up.
Yeah.
They obviously lost at least once.
2 bobbles here for Clay to start. Actually, no, it's 3. Pardon me.
And he's just doming right now.
Yeah.
It's going upstairs with him.
Get a little looksky poo. Tom with quite a few more lands in his hand this game. No ley line to start, unfortunately. Though Clay's hand not all that impressive at the moment.
Though, he does have Lingering Souls.
Yes, which is
if
good.
If he can get to it, is great.
It is a very good card. That's one of those reasons you think Tom wants the ley line. One of many, as he will play a Raven's Crime. I think I know what he's going to discard. Oh, yeah. Lingering Souls to the graveyard right away. Bobble. Clay will target himself. Does he want to fetch now, or does he want to draw that card? He'll draw 2 cards, and now he'll draw 1 first turn. 2 bobble triggers and then a draw step, of course.
Remember them all.
Yeah.
What a master.
Pretty smart kid. Didn't even have to put anything on top of his deck either. I don't know how they do it. I don't get it. Clay going to sacrifice a Bloodstained Mire. And we'll see what he's on the hunt for here. It's a Stomping Ground.
Yeah, it might be a Stomping Ground Godless Shrine type of setup here.
One of those sets up.
Maybe Watery Grave if you don't think you need the white mana.
Looks like he's going to go towards Watery Grave. Maybe it's time for Lingering Souls.
Yeah. No, not necessarily.
He's got Tarmogoyf in his hand. He's got a weird looking hand right now.
It's a Grudge.
Stubby D. It's got an interesting little hand. There's Lingering Soul. 2 spirits on the way. And we're going to go back over to Tom, see if he can handle these spirits. Wrench Mine the draw. It's an interesting one.
Start going to work.
You got to remember, Tom does have access to 2 copies of Bantu's Last Reckoning in his sideboard. This is Smallpox. Huh. I wasn't expecting that. Clay ready to discard. He's going to lose Grudge. Tom's going to discard Wrench Mine, keep Urborg. Okay. Huh.
Well, he may want to just try to pin Spicklemire's mana here and then play Liliana on a mostly empty board.
Okay. Here comes an attack for 1. Now, Spicklemire, he's not playing a deck that has a lot of lands, obviously.
Right, and he can actually, because the deck is so much about searching for, oh yeah, oh, I'm excited too.
Ooh, Shadow Couch.
Get that fetch lane. Get that fetch lane. Come on.
Street Wraith the draw.
Ah,
Oh, boy.
come on.
Clay will draw. It's a Mirsh's Bobble.
Redraws and redraws.
Yep. He's going to take a look at the top card of Tom's deck. That'll stay put. Clay will draw another card here momentarily. Here's an attack for 1.
Interesting that he brought on the Team of Battle Rage. Would not be my approach to the matchup here, just because Tom's not really about blocking; it's about removal. And keeping situational cards in your hand seems rough.
Inquisition of Kozilek the draw here for Tom. He's going to go towards Liliana. He's going to get a Stubborn Denial. Yeah. Clay's going to untap very quickly. This is a big draw step for him. Picked up a Tarmogoyf.
But my point earlier, he has so few lands that actually make mana that when he gets Stone Rained, he can actually get cut off of colors.
Yes.
For like the whole game.
Yep. Because he does have so few lands. The rack, the draw here for Tom. Now, Clay's got a million cards in his hand, so the rack's not great. Here's Inquisition of Kozilek. Now, if I'm Tom, I'm thinking Stubborn Denial here.
Oh yeah, because I want to get that fetch land.
Yeah, you
get that fetch land.
Yeah.
Get your fetch land. And that fetch land. And also, it's cheap, and everything else in his hand is expensive.
Yes, there's that too.
Oh, there's a Traverse in that hand too.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
You can hardly control yourself right now. Hey, Stubborn Denial is just,
I think
it's just annoying enough too. I just kind of want to go after that. Yeah, that's what he's going to take. 2 Tarmogoyf Traverse, Teamer Battle Rage in hand. All right, draw a card.
Come on.
Another Tarmogoyf, just an attack for 1.
Trust me, Tom is salivating just as much as I am.
I'm very, very aware. Shrieking Affliction in the draw. So now these discard enchantments looking especially bad.
But that's okay. I mean, he's got a little bit of time here.
We go over to Clay. Verdant Catacombs.
Yes. 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 Come on.
Here's an attack for 1.
Clay, it looks so good. You guess Tarmogoyf or what, whatever you're thinking. Go get that overgrown tomb.
2-headed giant steel player. Returning to the next round are two-headed giant competitors.
Oh no!
No,
stop!
that's don't even
Stop!
Don't you reach for that
Nope.
deck. Here's a Shadow Down.
No!
Tom will draw a card.
Oh yeah. Be still, my heart.
Clay will take 1 to do that fetch too.
Oh yeah.
He loses a life.
Yeah.
That doesn't change. Tom will draw. Picked up an Urborg. Not great since he's already got 1. But we might see him fire up the Mutavaults now.
Coast is clear. Start racing back a little bit. Got a Fatal Push to answer a Death Shadow. Should that roll
or
off?
Tarmogoyf.
Oh yeah.
Tom going to come in here with just 2.
So when you're in Spicklemire, see, it's why is he not attacking with this Mutavault? Why is he keeping up 2? He's maybe just playing around Fatal Push, but I don't know. be. Couldn't have been better.
Clay will draw. Didn't get a great look. May have been a Death Shadow. It's actually a street rate. Down to 7 he goes. Draw a card now. Thoughtseize? Ugh.
Yep.
Ugh. The one-ofs, fun-ofs. They strike again. No one loves a one-of more than Tom, by the way. Just some weird one-of.
Do you think that when he cast Shadow of Doubt, do you think he said Shadow of Doubt, or do you think he said foil Shadow of Doubt?
I think he said Shadow Doubt. I don't think he expressed the foil nature of the card.
Intend to resolve a foil Shadow of Doubt.
Here's an attack for 2. Tom's got a lot of fatal pushes in his hand, so he can handle Tarmogoyfs and the like. Spicklemire will draw a card. I think he may have just picked up a fetch.
Yeah, but you hit this point with the deck where you just can't. I mean, you can't really cast anything. You just,
No, not at all.
All your spells require, fetch land plus untap duel.
Yeah, that's 3 life. Puts you down to 2. Kill your Tarmogoyf. Kill you with the Mutavaults.
Oh man. Glad to be back.
Glad to have you back. A little 8-rack. Clay with 300 cards in hand.
We've seen it now both ways.
Yep.
We've seen the part of the deck that's knock you down to no hand and kill you with a rack and Shrieking affliction, and we've seen the other side.
We've seen the other side.
Blow up all your lands and you're discarding the hand
Yep,
size.
that's right.
They all end up in the graveyard. It's just a question of what path,
Overgrown Tomb. Here is Traverse. Traverse, I think, is going to go get a Death Shadow, which is all well and good. Here is Death Shadow. And that's a big creature, I'll tell you what. And Tom's got 100 fatal pushes in his hand. Kill that. Untap. Push this. Or just play a swamp and attack with 2 Mutavaults. There's a push. Fire it up and do it. Tom Ross going to win this match over Clay Spicklemire 2-1. 8-rack claims another victim. This time it's 5-color Death Shadow.